Hey, everybody. Jim McLaughlin here. We are up for another great weekly show. I appreciate you being here. I'm bouncing around a little bit here because I am alone. My partner is struggling with broken air conditioning back at the station, and I'm actually grateful not to be there. But in any case, I'm glad you're here, and I'm looking for a great show today. Again, I'm Jim McLaughlin. This is Chester Masterminds on cmpradio.net. And I don't have my list of sponsors, but I can tell you that there's some great folks out there that do sponsor CMP Radio. And if Uncle P was here, he would be rattling them off for us all, and we'll get that hit hard in the next show. But I do want you all to know that we do have some great sponsors here, and if you see them on other programs, to please support them. In any case, first up, as I've been trying to do, is to talk a little bit about some of the news that has taken place during the last week or so. One of the things that I'm aware of now is that there is a significant amount of interest in Black entrepreneurial enterprise, and that's a great thing for this community. And I want everybody to take advantage of that if they can. One of the things that popped up in the last couple of weeks is that Amazon has launched a $150 million program specifically targeting Black entrepreneurs. There's information easily found about that. I'm going to be looking in to see what that's all about and what might be the opportunities are for the Chester community and helping Chester entrepreneurs possibly go after some of those investment funds. But another one, and this is something that I posted out on our Facebook page at Chester Masterminds on Facebook. When Citigroup pegged the cost of systemic racism to the U.S. economy over the last 20 years at $16 trillion, by far the largest portion was attributed to a failure to equitably invest in Black entrepreneurs. This amounted to an opportunity cost of $13 trillion, a significant portion of that $16 trillion. And the article goes on to note that investment by venture capitalists is not a fad. That is, the venture capitalists are putting money in for 5 and 10-year time horizons, and that means good things for investment, for sharing and mentoring small businesses and entrepreneurs everywhere. And I would be looking to take advantage of that. I also want to note that in a recent blog post by Chester resident Stefan Roots, he made it very clear that there's a potential for a Black Wall Street. He said that Chester has all the elements to become a real Black Wall Street if there's some vision, planning, and cooperation. And I absolutely believe that. There's a word that's used in these circumstances, in these circles, called diaspora. It generally refers to what's called a scattered population, who's all dispersed from their homeland. But there's a more general term that refers to any collection of folks. And so Chester residents today and those who've lived in Chester from the past form a diaspora. The Black community, forms a diaspora of itself. The community of folks that oppose racial injustice might form a diaspora. And all of these groups can work together as they work to raise Chester up. There's a new, I saw a new Facebook group called Chester is Rising. It's going to be a series of podcasts out in support of where Chester is going in the future. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. Be sure to watch for that. But the members of the diaspora cannot fight each other over the opportunities when there are literally too many opportunities to count. So I encourage everyone to work together. It's what this show has always been about, working together and supporting each other in identifying and going after opportunities with the collective wisdom and the resources that we all have. And I believe that this can happen. And I think that my partner on this show, Uncle P, would be very supportive of making that point. So I encourage you to be open and trusting with everyone involved in your own business development activities. And I am happy to be here to help out. So today, our guest, and let me go ahead and bring him on, and then I'll do a little bit of an introduction for him. This is our friend, John Hess. Welcome. And welcome, John. I appreciate you being here. And let me fix my screens a little bit here because I want to I want to do this right.
Glad to be here, Jim.
So, yeah, great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. So let me give everybody a little bit of background. John is a volunteer with SCORE Chester and Delaware counties. He is currently vice chair for community engagement after previously serving as chairman during 2019 and 2020. He has been a member of SCORE for 5 years since retiring from corporate life. John has over 20 years of experience as a thought leader and driving change. He was a division-level executive at several large banking companies in the U.S. And since retiring, he has remained busy. Of course, we want that. In addition to volunteering at SCORE, John is a public speaker and IT advisor. He's also an adjunct professor at Westchester University and a planning commissioner in his home township. John holds a Bachelor of Science from Penn State and an MBA from Rutgers. So thank you again, John, for being here with us. So, right off the bat, tell us a little bit about SCORE and, maybe the national, and then bring it down here local.
Yeah. And thanks, Jim, for having me here today. Always interested to talk about small business and what we can do to help small business. And yeah, I try to say I'm retired. My wife says I'm not. So here we are. But yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about SCORE because not many people kind of know what that is. And so it is a large national nonprofit, and we are a nonprofit made up of volunteers. And so nationwide, we have about 11,000 volunteers. And so we're called a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. And what that means is we work very closely with the Small Business Administration. We also work very closely with the Small Business Development Centers, SBDC, you might have heard of those. And we work very closely with the one at Widener University down in Chester. But we are not part of the government. So we are actually a nonprofit. We are a 501c3. And that's important to tell people because they think we might be part of the government. But our only reason for existing as a nonprofit organization is to help small business. So, I don't get too much into the whole vision, mission stuff because people are like, it doesn't mean anything. But basically, our whole reason for being is to foster small business, help them through education, through mentoring. And so at a national level, 11,000 people locally, and we're regionally kind of organized. Locally, the chapter I'm with is Delaware and Chester County, and we've got about 100 volunteers. So we're actually considered one of the larger chapters. And so there's 100 volunteers, similar to myself, and we're split about roughly 50-50. 50% of those volunteers mentor small business. So, and that's primarily what I do at SCORE and why I joined SCORE. So we meet with small businesses, find out what they're trying to do, and through tools and advice and some educational type resources, we help kind of move them along, right? And our goal is to, if it's someone with an idea, our goal is to get them to start the business, get into business, hire people, make money. We also work a lot with businesses who are already there. So not just startups, but people who have something where, hey, I need more customers. I need more access to capital. Something we got a lot this last year was, hey, I was a brick and mortar. I don't understand this whole digital marketing thing. I don't understand e-commerce, right? And so we also jump in there and we provide advice on how do you kind of go from, hey, I used to be a storefront, now I have to sell on the internet. And so we provide those types of advisory type services. So that's like half of our members. The other half are what we would call sort of speakers, which I actually do both. So I also do a webinar probably once a quarter, but the webinars and educational sessions we do are very targeted. So all about QuickBooks. How do you do Facebook? How do you look at cash flow? So very short, sort of 1 hour focused educational sessions as opposed to the mentoring sessions. And so the one last thing I'll mention about the mentoring, always free. So we're not, kind of bait and switch. We don't meet with you and then after the second time we say, oh, guess what? Now always free. And I actually have a client up in northern part of Delaware County who I meet with every single week for an hour. And I meet with them probably for the last 3 years, pre-pandemic, during pandemic, now as we're going out of it. And, it's always free, and we have a really good relationship. They view me as sort of an outside kind of board of directors type person. But yeah, that is what we're all about, is really how do we help people take an idea, turn it into a business, and then advise them once they're in business, like how do you get to the next step, whether it's marketing, cash flow, accounting. And so our 100 volunteers, we span, and I always, I'll probably kill myself for saying this, but we span just about every type of industry you could think of. So we go from sort of cyber, cryptocurrency to, hey, I want a food truck or a beauty parlor, or, just I'm a mechanic, right? So any type, a lot of food businesses, we do a lot of food businesses. And then within any type of business, we also have a lot of depth across functional expertise. So finance, marketing, risk management, and so between intellectual property. So between those two, we feel pretty confident we can help most people that come to us. And if we personally can't, we will find someone within that 11,000 person SCORE network who can join us. And so one of the good things, if there is a good thing about this last year, was we did a lot of virtual mentoring using Zoom primarily, or Google Hangouts, Skype, whatever it need be. Mm-hmm. And so it was easy for us to bring in experts from around the country, because it's just, hey, there's a guy in Minneapolis who's really good at food labeling. You know what? I give the guy a call, give him a Zoom link, he jumps in the conversation with us.
Yeah, great. I think we all learn that. We all learn it.
Yeah, and so that's what we're about. And right now, we're sort of like everyone else. We're making the transition from a virtual world back to physical. And so across the two counties, we physically face-to-face mentor in about 14 locations, split about 7 and 7 across the two counties. Chester specifically, we will start mentoring there again. We mentor at Widener, right there at the SBDC. So if people, don't want to travel too far, we will start getting back to face-to-face. Right now, most of our mentoring is still virtual. I don't know in the future how much it will remain virtual, because as much as we all love face-to-face, at the end of a day's work, an entrepreneur may find it easier just to, pop onto pull out their phone or their tablet while they're sitting in their car getting ready to drive home and just do a mentoring session that way. So whatever works.
Do you feel like that's going to really change the way that you all deliver your service? It seems like we've learned a lot over the last year and a half, about how to go through that.
Yeah, I think virtual will be here to stay. The good thing is we had been doing video mentoring for about 4 years already. So we were one of the pilot chapters for national. And so when the pandemic came, and I was chairman of the chapter then, it was really easy for me to, be bold. And I just said, hey, as of today, we're virtual, no more face-to-face. We're not going to endanger anyone. And so it was easy for us to flip the switch. Right now, I think it will always have a place, because it's easier for the entrepreneur. We know there a lot of our entrepreneurs, and you can't like put a blanket around all of them, but a lot of them are working their day job as they're thinking about starting a new business. And a lot of times,
as you said, you can pull in experts from anywhere in the nation, or frankly from the world. I don't know whether is SCORE an international company, or
no, it's US based. And so the only limitations we do have, because we do get some funding from the federal government. So Congress does make a small appropriation. I say small. Most of our funding comes from the two counties and private foundations. But because we do get congressional support, we are not able to mentor people who are outside the physical boundaries of the United States. So if someone's doing business in the U.S., yeah, we can mentor them. They don't have to be a citizen, but if they're in the U.S. doing business, sure. If they're a U.S. citizen, and they just happen to be outside, but their business really is inside, yeah, that's kind of the only limits we do have.
But so if a business is doing, I mean, just to pull that thread just for a second, a business that wants to do international trade, for example, where they are essentially buying offshore goods and selling them here in the U.S. or the reverse, that's still fair game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, we've got a lot of clients who are doing international trade, and that's a good case where we use our network. So although we've got good experience there, there are some real experts for international trade at the Small Business Development Center at Kutztown University, which I'm not even sure what county that's in, but it's not in our counties. But we pull them in because they've got experts. So yeah, we had a gentleman, can't remember which town, but he was in Delaware County, and he actually was building a factory in Ghana to take coconut shells, turn them into carbon to use for filtration in the gold mines. I know nothing about that. Okay. I know about business and I know risk, but I was able to get experts, chemists and things. But yeah.
Do you all also, since you're able to pull from all over the U.S. To get help, are you also limited in, say that there is an expert in Ghanaian law that you would like to pull into a conversation to guide a U.S. entrepreneur on how to operate under, say, a foreign country's legal system? Are you able to pull in through your extended network, international? Is there an international network of volunteers willing to support what SCORE does?
Yes, we can pull in those experts, and I
understand it's not often.
And I'd say we use our network to pull in those people. So the case, and I'll use this gentleman who was building this factory in Ghana. So yeah, through Kutztown, they know, they can name the names of all the, Deputy Undersecretary for Trade for West Africa, right. And they could bring this person into the conversation. He would say, like, here are all the regulations you need to do to set up a factory in there, and they could get them in touch with, the ambassador over there and things like that. So, right. So we technically don't know those people, but it's like we know people who know people,
right?
To help them,
including the U.S. Trade Representative.
Yeah, and right. Yeah, and where we need help from our congressional, representatives. Right. We can reach out to them also. So yeah, whether it's Chrissy Houlihan or Mary Gay Scanlon, we can reach out to them if we need to.
That's terrific. I mean, so the breadth and as you said, the pandemic has had a positive, which is you've recognized that you can pull in the ease with which you can pull in experts from anywhere in the U.S. adds to the depth that SCORE is able to offer in providing the right kind of guidance, laser focused on the need that a particular business may have. There's obviously a lot of general things that businesses all need at the startup level, at the getting going. But at some point, every business, if they're differentiated enough, is going to need some laser focused skill potentially that might not exist directly within the Chester Delco area. And you have that you have that ability to reach out beyond. And so walk me through real quick, just sort of a sequence of steps that somebody. So let me real quick. We've got one chart that I want to show that talks about how people can get information and get into the mentoring process. We'll show this a couple of times, but I want to bring it up because it'll get people at least thinking about it. So this is a chart on the screen. You can visit chesterdelco.score.org. Click on Find a Mentor, and then click on Self-Schedule your video mentoring session. You can always also call the number that's on the screen, 484-356-8624. And so there's a way to go about setting that up. And if you could, real quick, John, just kind of walk us through a little bit of that first interaction that happens. What's that first conversation sort of work like? Yeah.
So, and there are multiple ways people can reach out to us. And so yeah, if someone wants to self-schedule, they can go through the website, or if someone just doesn't feel comfortable with that, call that phone number. Our admin Lillian is really great, and she will hook you up with a mentor. So yeah, so that first session, whether it's video or face-to-face, what we generally do is, right, so we introduce ourselves, we talk, no more than 5 minutes because it's not about us. Tell them what to expect from SCORE, what we can offer, and then we really talk about what they're looking to do. And so, our process that we use, right? And so we've got sort of I'd say a process that we all learn as mentors to get certified. A lot of it is geared around listen, right? And so it's called, SLATE is our thing, and the first S in SLATE is stop, suspend judgment, and then L is listen. So, generally what we do in that first session is really find out what they're looking for. So where are they in the process? If it's just an idea, right, then we kind of go down a different path where we at that point, we sort of start at square one and we say, let's talk about who your market is. Because that's probably, as a small business, the most important thing you need to really identify and like you said, laser focus on. Who is your market, right? Is it, women of a certain age? Is it families? Is it other businesses, right? So who is that market, right? And, the marketing term would be a market segment, but who is it that's going to buy your product or service, right? And as a small business, you want that as narrowly defined as possible because, right, you don't have Procter & Gamble or Budweiser's ad budget, right? You need to think about, who that is. And then the second question we talk about is, well, what's the problem that market has? What is not being solved? What bothers them? What products or services are out there today that don't solve the problem they have? And right, and that, and I like I said, I teach at Westchester, but that's a business, right? A customer and a problem. If you can identify both of those, you've got a business, and we can figure out all the rest of it. And so,
somebody with money to pay to solve the problem, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, if someone's not willing to give you $1 to solve their problem, some people, say, well, that's a hobby then, right? And so, and hobbies are great, but if you really want to make money, and be in business, you have to solve a problem that, someone's willing to give you money to solve. And so if that's the, we'll talk to them about how do you figure out who your client is? How do you do research on how big they are, the size of the market, where they are? And we'll give you the tools to show you how to do that. And so a mentor, and we kind of laugh because we don't do anything. We give advice, right? So we don't actually create your business plan. We don't go create your market segment. We show you how, we give you the tools. And then as you're working on it, yeah, we have interactive sessions and we answer questions and help guide. But really that first interaction is us finding out, what do you need? If it's someone with an idea, it's definitely a much different interaction than someone who says, I've had this restaurant, I've been in business for 5 years, but my sales are going down and I don't know why and I need help, right? Now that's a much different conversation. In that case, we would also look at their market segment, but we'd look at how they're marketing. We'd talk about maybe what their unit costs are and talk a little bit more about, what they've done. But similar type thought process from our side, which is really tell us what you need. We'll bring the right people, we'll bring the right tools and kind of get you through that. And so, yeah, oftentimes that's what our first interaction with a new business will be. And then and normally our sessions are an hour, because after an hour it can, you kind of lose focus.
Run out of energy, yeah.
And so what we'll do before we leave is we'll say, okay, here's what we kind of talked about. These are the tools we've left you with. When you're comfortable talking to us, or want to re-engage, you reach out to us. And so, yeah, our model, I call it a pull model. So we aren't school teachers where we say, we give you homework and we call you up and say, hey, Jim, did you work on that business plan? Jim, did you, figure out who your client is? we are there, and as often as they want to meet with us, we will meet. But we ask that the client reach out to us and say, hey, John, can we set up another time? And, we're like, yep, that's fine. Let's agree on a time. And then we from there. That's kind of the initial session that when we meet with someone.
So I'm gonna move us into another question. So we've talked about how I just wanted to ask a real quick question, because I know that there's some information that you guys gain and gather as you're interviewing and you're working with all these businesses. You all have been doing this now through the pandemic. One of the questions that comes to my mind often is, how are businesses transitioning out of the pandemic? What are the big things that you see changing as a result of what we've learned and experienced during the pandemic, that you would share with other small businesses to say, hey, pay attention to this?
Yeah. I mean, and similar to what, I talked about with our model, right, in virtual, I think even as we open up and, restaurants are allowing more people in, and, maybe masks, maybe not, the virtual, sort of the digital marketing, the digital commerce part is not ever going away. So some businesses who they, pivot is kind of the term, but they transitioned to digital during the pandemic, and maybe they did really well. We've had some businesses that were like, wow, we're not going back. It's good. But even if they do go back to a physical world, those skills, I think will still need to be there, right? And so some of the skills people learned was they really needed to understand how to give a message their potential client well. So who is my client? What do they need to hear from me? And because I can't see them, I need to make sure I'm giving them the right message. Well, that's a good skill to learn even when you're face to face. So now that we're face to face, and let's say, I'll just use the restaurant analogy again. Okay, you're now back to 75, 100% diners. You don't forget the skill you learned, which was asking your customers what's working and what's not working, right? You don't lose that skill or that discipline of, looking at quality and following up with people and thanking people for their business, right? And so I think a lot of those skills we learned by not being able to be with people will enhance when we are now with people, right? And so they need to keep learning those. I think some of the other things that people learned, and whether they got the EIDL loans or the PPP loans, a lot of businesses who didn't really have that financial discipline, they're just, hey, I've got more money in the bank at the end of the month than I did last month, and so I'm doing okay. Well, with PPP, they had to really understand their numbers with their payroll to go and get the money from the government and then try to get forgiveness later for that loan. I think that's good, right? So don't forget your unit costs. What are your variable costs? What are your fixed costs? I think a lot of businesses took a real hard look at, maybe I don't need as much retail space. Maybe I don't need that extra vehicle. Maybe I can get by with more, contractors as opposed to employees. So I think understanding your numbers is something that a lot of small businesses really need to make sure they're focused on now, if they weren't before. Right. Because it's always been true, right? One of the main reasons small businesses fail is they just don't understand their numbers well enough. And so they don't understand where the money's coming from and where it's going. And that's true now. It's always been true. And so, right. Don't lose those skills just because now we're face to face.
A great point. Does SCORE? So there are, to my knowledge, 3 different organizations that support the Chester community. There's you guys, mm-hmm. There's Entrepreneur Works, and there's the SBDC at Widener.
Yep.
Of course, there's the SBA, which is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But they really, so the SBDC is really the SBA's front door locally. For the most part. I mean, the Entrepreneur Works, I guess, are you all funded at all by the SBA?
We are. And so that's what I was saying. We get a small appropriation from Congress that gets sort of administered by the SBA. So our chapter, because, success, unfortunately, hurts you sometimes, because we've been successful in getting foundations and support from Delaware County and Chester County. The amount of money we get through the SBA is probably about 20% of our budget, but nevertheless. So yeah, the SBA has basically 3 what they call resource partners. So we're one of them. The Small Business Development Center, SBDC, is another one. And we work very closely with the one at Widener. And then there's the Women's Business Center, which is the 3rd one, which is really focused just on women's owned businesses. And there's another one that's sort of being stood up. It's getting a little more funding. Is more of a try to think the proper term, but it's more of a looking at historically kind of disadvantaged businesses. And I'd probably get the acronym wrong, but it's basically more for minority and Black owned businesses, and some of the SBA money is focused that way also. And so gotcha. we work kind of hand in hand with them. So there are things the SBDC does that we don't do, and there's things we do that the SBDC doesn't do. That's why we don't compete with them. We kind of partner with them.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so are you're familiar with the term CDFI, Community Development Finances? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you play any role in that regard? Which is really, so just to explain for folks listening, that a CDFI is there to help, identify loan opportunities, to provide, support grant applications and other things. They're there as a financial arm and support. If I've stated that correctly.
Yeah, and they're very focused on local, and so because of the way the CDFIs are set up, they don't have to have the same capital requirements that, say, a national bank, like, I won't mention their names. We all know who the big banks are. I work for a lot of them. But yeah, the way we work with the CDFIs, and we know who they are, and we've got contacts there, is we understand the requirements of what they look for when someone goes to the CDFI looking for money. And so we will help clients prepare for those meetings so that when they walk in, whether it's a CDFI or a regular bank, that they've got the proper sort of plan together, that they've got the right financials, what numbers are the CDFIs looking for as far as, kind of 1 to 3 year projections around, revenue, break even, all those kinds of things. So yeah, our goal, no matter where they're going to get the money, whether it's a CDFI, a bank, crowdsource, angel investors, whoever it is, that we prepare the person for that meeting, because it's you never get a second chance to make a first impression kind of saying. If you go in and it's not a good meeting, those are tough to recover from. It's tough to say, oh yeah, I didn't know my stuff, but I know it now. We want to prepare people so that they feel confident when they walk in and they get asked numbers. How am I getting my loan money back? The person can say, well, here, let's walk through the numbers. And so that's how we work with the CDFIs.
Great. So I'm going to take a quick break here and give you a chance to take a breather, and I'm going to come back. I've got a few more questions for you. Sure. And I this is great. I really appreciate it. So stand by a second. And folks, I want to real quick, point out that the radio station does not run itself. This is a community organization put together by Jean-Pierre Bryce in building up a radio station that is intended to engage the community around a wide range of topics that are important to the Chester community. I want everyone to appreciate what it takes to do that. It doesn't run itself. And I want to invite you to think hard about, engaging other businesses, engaging other community members in the conversation that is going on here on CMP Radio. There's an awful lot of good that can come out of building a network of support, of sharing ideas and sharing challenges and sharing successes across the community. Chester is rising, and the more that it can work together to build that network and build that support, the better it will be. I also want to point out that in late August, CMP Radio is going to be conducting a Raise-a-thon, which is focused on engaging the community. It's focused on raising money for the station, but also engaging the community and understanding what CMP Radio as a communications channel can do for the future of Chester and for the community of Chester. I want you to look for that. It's the third week of August, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I believe it is. But it's definitely published out on the CMP Radio Facebook page. It's going to be a terrific event. There's a lot of fun things that if Jean-Pierre was here, I know he'd be able to rattle them all off. I'm without the chart that would tell me what I would say, but in any case, I know that they are putting together a lot of great events, culminating with a big one at the big park, so be sure to check that out as we get further along in August. And just as a reminder, all of the programs at CMP Radio will be taking a break through the month of August. So we're going to all take a break and hope that you all and your families will be able to do so during August. We're not going to stop working, but we will stop broadcasting for that period of time. And I'll be working on where we're going and to pick up in September. So be thinking about businesses that you'd like to see on the show. And the questions you think that we ought to be addressing here at the station. I'll also point out that there's a survey that you can find on the Facebook page that asks what shows you like, what kinds of shows you might like in addition to what is already being programmed at CMP Radio, and other like a handful of other small questions about how you get your information on the internet or otherwise, so that we can be a radio station that is responsive to your needs. And we'd appreciate you filling out that survey. So give that a shot, and we appreciate it very much. I am going to bring John back here. I'm giving him a heads up so he knows I'm coming after him, and I look forward to more questions. So stand by. Let me get you back in here, John. Thank you so much. And so my next question for you is around. So when you have that first meeting, and I'm sure that many businesses come to you and they really don't have a board of directors, do you help them to build out that network of mentors, even if it's not technically a board of directors? Is there work in addition to just that one meeting to help them identify or guide them? One of the things, and the reason I point this out is because this show is called Chester Masterminds for a reason. My own experience in working with small businesses as a consultant suggests that the more outside eyeballs you can get on your business who are supportive of your goal, the more likely it is you're going to get good guidance and you're going to make good decisions in how to run your business. Is that something that SCORE helps with?
We do, if that's something the business needs. And so, yeah, we start out, obviously, our engagement as their mentor, and depending on what different types of advice or challenges they need, we may bring in, as we talked about before, people within our network locally and nationally. But yeah, for some clients, we do, once they get more, I'd say more to a level of maturity where they're, running, we'll put together something we call an advisory board. You can call it a board of directors, whatever. And we've got some clients that we do that for once a quarter, twice a year. One that we've done it for probably over 10 years, where we have different functional experts sit on that board and kind of review their strategy and things like that. And so, we might have one person who's a pricing expert, someone else who's a marketing person, someone else who, might be more industry focused. So, maybe someone who understands pipelines or something like that, right? If they're doing drilling or hazmat or something. And so we'll sometimes put together a group of functional experts, and they'll be this advisory board, and the client will come in once a quarter and just say, look, here's how I did. Here's some strategic questions that I'm dealing with, and I'm not sure what way to go. Tell me what you think. So we'll also meet with people that way. In addition to kind of the mentor relationship, the other thing we do, and we don't do it yet in Chester. I know we had talked about it prior to pandemic, is more of sort of I'll call it like a community of kind of of businesses. So we might get a group of businesses together across different industries. We generally don't try to get ones that compete against each other. So we might get 10 or 15 businesses together, and 3 or 4 score people will meet with them, and we'll talk for a couple hours about what challenges they're all having. So we did something like that about a month ago up in Coatesville in Chester County, where we had a number of businesses came in, and they all talked about challenges they were having, whether it was hiring people or just being able to find storefronts at reasonable rents and things like that. And so, we don't know everything. We might be mentors, but hearing it from different businesses, and they'll say, hey, this is how I solved it, right? And so not only are they getting questions answered, but they're also meeting other small business owners, in their community, which really helps. And so it's different than like a chamber of commerce where you have to pay to join. This is more of kind of a business roundtable, we'd call it. And we form those, and we've got one we do in Coatesville, one in Phoenixville. We were trying to get one in Chester, and I think Upper Darby, I think we were looking at also. But really good to get a number of small businesses together, and just in a a very non-threatening environment, talk about problems they're all having, and how together we can figure out what some solutions are. So that's another model we do that's kind of maybe not the traditional one-on-one mentoring type thing.
Right. One of the so that's terrific, and I like that idea of a business roundtable. I think that's what we're trying to kind of do on this program, is to be that the every one of the guests that comes on forms over time a network of folks that other businesses can reach out to. Even if they don't do it on the show directly, they can come back onto through our network of guests, and know that these are folks that have been where they can see them prior. See what their business is about, and know whether or not there's some relationship to be built around that. So I like this idea of networking, and I'm glad you all are fostering that as well. So one other thing is, so I want to differentiate you guys a little bit. I'm aware of Headroom in media as sort of an incubator, or they call it a co-working space. Do you all provide spaces there in anywhere, or do you know of any places other than Headroom is a great place, but yeah, media, it's a little about 7 miles from Chester, but are there other places like that where people can go to get office space or privacy, or actually conduct and we partner with Headroom, so we do work with the organization at Headroom, and one of the things that the Delaware County Council does provide, they provide a certain amount of hours for us to meet. So one of the places we do mentor is at Headroom, and so that's one of the locations. And there's another one, Wayne, I think, is the other Headroom. They've got 2 of them. Right.
No, we don't ourselves have co-working space that we provide. At one point, in Upper Darby, we had talked to the mayor, it was the previous mayor, about allocating some space that we could do for that. But a lot's changed since then. So I know we had talked to Widener about potentially getting some space there to do a similar thing, but
so they don't have the SBDC does not have a co-working space either.
Not as of now, but that's one of the things we had talked about. But yeah, we ourselves do not kind of sponsor those things. We do use Headroom, and all the different locations where we do mentor, and there's 14 across the counties. We actually partner with an organization. So whether it's Widener, SBDC, it may be a WISFIS Bank in Springfield, they actually will give us space to use to mentor, but it's really space that we only use when we're mentoring people. It's not. Right. It's not space that they give us that we then can turn over to someone to use. Right.
And because I'm personally not aware. Do you know whether Entrepreneur Works offers space like that?
I don't know. But yeah, one of the other things Headroom does, and we're part of kind of the group that is on this little board of directors. They also have sort of an incubator and accelerator there. So in addition to having workspace, they do select, and I think there's 4 of us on the team, and someone from SCORE is one of those. We talk to the different entrepreneurs, and so they offer kind of a scholarship, for lack of a better word, for an incubator through Headroom, and so we do participate with that. So yeah, we try to partner with as many organizations as we can, because ultimately all of our goals are getting people to be successful small business owners, right? It's like we don't get anywhere by trying to fight with people. Like if we were to fight with the SBDC, neither one of us is helping anybody, right? Our goal is, together we all offer different things, and if we all act as kind of different partners, we can help everybody get up, right? Because that's all we care about, right? We care about ultimately creating businesses and creating jobs,
right?
And the reason we get a lot of support from the Delaware County Council and Chester County Commissioners is because, like all politicians, I'm not being too cynical, right? They like taxpayers, right? And so the more people the business hires, the more taxpayers there are, the more revenue that's in the location, the more sales tax and everything else that's generated. So they like that too.
Well, it works. I mean, that's how government works. That's how a community develops and grows, and develops the resources it takes to build the infrastructure. And no, you're not going to get an argument out of me. That's how whether you're capitalist or you're socialist, it doesn't matter. They all work the same. If you don't have capital assets to go and build bridges and make internet systems and banking systems all work, it doesn't come together. So you're absolutely right. We've got to have taxpayers and tax revenues to do all of those things.
And this is one area where, and all cynicism aside, where it actually works really well. We get good partnership from the 2 congressional representatives in Chester and Delaware County, Chrissy and Mary Gay. We've got great coordination from national down to state, and the state representatives and state senators and the local county. Small business is like the one thing that everyone agrees to work well on. And so, we all, put forward our best effort there. And so, that's one thing I say that is really good, that, I see kind of that public-private partnership working together. Wish there were more, but at least for small business, it does work.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. So I want to put up your information one more time so that everybody can see it. So if you're looking for a mentoring session to build your connection with the SCORE Chester Delco SCORE mentors here in Chester and Delaware counties, visit their website, chesterdelco.score.org. Click on Find a Mentor, and then click on self-schedule your video mentoring session. Or if you don't want to go on the net, you can just pick up the phone. You can call 484-356-8624. And I'm sure that they will be more than happy to schedule something. I also want to throw up the contact information here. Also, you can email them directly. I meant to put this up before. Same phone number, the contact information if you'd like to email them. And their offices, of course, your main office is in Westchester, but really, it doesn't really matter. You guys find places to meet wherever it works.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we do a lot of mentoring at coffee shops, wherever it might be. Wherever 2 people can meet and talk about business, that's what we'll do. I do want to mention one thing, just so people don't get too worried. And one of the things the SBA does provide for us with some of their oversight is everything at SCORE is confidential. So we do not share any of a client's information with another client. We don't share it with another mentor unless we need to, or with the client's express permission. So that's one of the things the SBA does kind of require every year. We have to take a confidentiality and code of ethics training every year. And I mean, no kidding, if you do not take that confidentiality by the day, and so I think this year it's September 30th, you're gone. You're cut off. You are not part of SCORE. Because yeah, we know that someone is not going to share with us the details they need to be successful if they think we're going to just blab it all over.
Right.
And we also, as volunteers, are not allowed to have any financial interest in the company. So you can't hire us. If you hire us, we have to leave SCORE. We can't make any money off the business. We can't take money from people. So we are, I mean, a lot of people are like, you do this for free. We actually do it because we care about small business.
Right.
We have no financial interest in, any of the goings on of our clients.
And that's a great place to kind of finish this up, because this is a volunteer organization totally dedicated to supporting small businesses, bringing together a network of professionals with skills across a wide and diverse range of topics. Mm-hmm. And as you said, and have made very clear that you've networked across all of the other small business support organizations, all trying to build a network of support for any new business that's looking to get started or make themselves better in some way. And that's a great place to be. Mm-hmm. And you've given us a great report on all that. I'm extraordinarily grateful for your time, John, today. If there's anything else that we should know about SCORE or anything.
No, and thank you, Jim, and thank you everybody who's listening. And again, like, if you're watching this after the fact, please reach out to us. I mean, we're here to help. And if you do the Find a Mentor, when you go to that, you'll see pictures of all our mentors with a little kind of, I don't want to say biography, but more like what we can do for you. And so you can just click on that person's picture and select a session, or like Jim said, just call that number or go to that email. Lillian is our admin. She's fantastic, and she will respond to you very quickly and talk to you and set up a session. And she will find you the mentor that can help you. And so I'd say just don't be shy. We're here to help. We help lots of people, and don't think that you don't have a good enough idea or you're not far enough along. Even if it's just an idea, we're here to help.
Right. Yeah. The worst thing you can do is not act on it.
Yep.
And just continue to fretting about or wishing that you had started your business or wishing anything. You guys are there and ready to support. And,
I mean, it could be even as simple as, hey, I don't even know how to register my business, right? We can walk you through how to do that in Pennsylvania. The other states, I don't know, but Pennsylvania, we can walk you through that.
Right. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been a tremendously informative discussion. I'm grateful for SCORE. I'm grateful for all that you do to promote small business. And thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll call it done. And we'll see everybody next week. And so by the way, next week, just so everybody knows, Shay Stovall will be on. She's a graphic designer. And we'll talk about what it means to be a graphic artist and a designer in a pandemic, and all the other ways that you can be a graphic designer. So thanks again, John. And
thank you. Yeah,
we'll take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.